In ancient times, in the land of Israel, there lived a young shepherd named David. He was the youngest son of Jesse, a humble man from the town of Bethlehem. David was a handsome young man, courageous and God-fearing. His days were spent in the fields, tending his father's sheep. He spent hours under the scorching sun and the twinkling stars, always alert to the dangers that might threaten his flock. With his harp, David composed and sang songs of praise to the Lord, expressing his faith and devotion. While David led a peaceful life as a shepherd, the kingdom of Israel faced a terrible threat. The Philistines, a warlike people who inhabited the coastal regions, had declared war against Israel. They camped in the valley of Elah, ready for battle. The army of Israel, led by King Saul, set up camp on the opposite hills. For 40 days, the two armies faced each other, waiting for the moment to attack. Among the Philistines, there was a fearsome giant named Goliath, from Gath. He was over 3 meters tall and wore an impressive armor made of bronze. His spear was like a weaver's beam, with an iron point weighing about 7 kilograms. Goliath was an experienced warrior, confident in his strength. Every morning and evening, he presented himself before the ranks of Israel and shouted, challenging them. Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects, but if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us. Today, I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other. These words echoed through the valley, causing fear and discouragement among the Israelite soldiers. No man, not even the valiant Saul, dared to face the giant. Each day, Goliath's challenge became more humiliating for Israel. One day, Jesse asked David to go to the camp to bring supplies to his 3 older brothers, who were in Saul's army. David promptly obeyed and set out at dawn, leaving the flock in the care of a keeper. When he arrived at the camp, he found the troops in battle position, ready to face the Philistines once again. While talking with his brothers, David heard Goliath's challenge. He saw the fear in the soldiers' eyes and the hopelessness that gripped the Israelite army. Indignant, he asked the men around him, What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? The soldiers told David that King Saul had offered a great reward: wealth, his daughter's hand in marriage, and tax exemption for the winner's family. However, despite the generosity of the offer, no one stepped forward to face Goliath. Eliab, David's eldest brother, heard his conversation and was angry. Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and the insolence of your heart. You have come down to see the battle. David calmly replied, What have I done now? Can't I even speak? And he turned to another soldier, repeating his questions. David's words were reported to Saul, who sent for him. When David was brought before the king, he said, Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. Saul looked at the young shepherd, surprised by his courage. You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David insisted, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Seeing David's faith and determination, Saul said, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Saul dressed David in his own tunic, put a coat of armor on him, and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened his sword over the tunic and tried walking around, but he was not used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I am not used to them." So he took them off. David took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and, with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. Goliath, seeing David approach, was furious and despised him. "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" And he cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said, and I will give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Sharaim road to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistines, they plundered their camp. David took the Philistines' head and brought it to Jerusalem. He put the Philistines' weapons in his own tent. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistine, he said to Abner, commander of the army, Abner, whose son is that young man?" Abner replied, "As surely as you live, your majesty, I don't know." The king said, "Find out whose son this young man is." As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head. "Of whose son are you, young man?" Saul asked him. David said, I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." However, David's story would not be only of glories and triumphs. His life would also be marked by challenges, intrigues, and trials, shaping him to become the great king God had planned. David, the young shepherd from Bethlehem, transformed into Israel's hero with his unwavering courage and faith. His victory over Goliath was not just a battle won, but a powerful testimony that true strength comes from the Lord Almighty. David's determination and trust in God inspired an entire nation to overcome their fears and believe in a future of hope and freedom. Thus, David paved the way for his grand destiny, showing that with faith and courage, any adversity can be overcome. May his story be an eternal reminder that when we trust in God, there is no giant we cannot defeat. And so we conclude the inspiring story of David and Goliath. If you enjoyed this journey of faith and courage, be sure to check out other videos on our channel, where we tell many more fascinating and captivating stories from the Bible. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Like to support our work, comment on what you thought of this story, and share the video with your friends and family. Together, we can spread these powerful and inspiring lessons. Until next time.